Hi, my name is Danika Kasky, and I'm a provider for Rancho Family Medical Group's behavioral health program. I've had kind of a long, interesting path, I think. Actually went to school out in New York City. I went to Sarah Lawrence College and then stayed out there for a little while and actually initially got a degree in art therapy, which is not something I use all the time now, but it's definitely something that I use sometimes. A large part of my background has been working in and around communities, like Rancho. I've worked with the whole range over the years, like kids, families, adults, and have really had an opportunity to see, the full spectrum of what we experience throughout our lives. At this point, I've been doing this for close to 17 years, which feels wild to say, but have really had an opportunity to see just really the full cycle of how things play out, and people at all different points of life, which I feel like has been really helpful and really beneficial in my work. My background has honestly really been in community and public mental health for a long time. I worked with kids and families over the years, and then later transitioned to adults. Honestly, for as long as I can remember from being really young, I remember just being really interested and curious about the people around me. I'd find myself, they used to joke when I was a kid, they'd say, Danika drifts, she's always always in her own mind. And so I was always interested in other people. I was always curious about other people and would find myself having thoughts even like, are they having a good day? Like, how's their day going? How are we doing? Like, as I get older, I just got more and more curious about people and individuals in general. And so when I was at Sarah Lawrence, I actually got really, really interested in the mind-body connection, which refers to, when we understand something or when we process something, what's happening physically for us. And so that's really led my work in a lot of ways. I have a big focus on the somatic connection and, what's happening when we're experiencing something, what we go through. I'm a huge fan of patterns and cycles. If we're working together, I'm probably going to be asking a lot of questions about, where something started, where we are now, and where we want to go from here. So one big thing about me is I'm a mom. I have a 2.5 little girl. She'll be 3 in May. She's my little Gemini, and so that's a big part of my life, spending time with my husband and my daughter and my friends. I'm a huge fan of being outside, being outdoors. I live in Orange County, so I like to get out and go walking. Really enjoy Pilates and hot yoga and, Newport. I live in Orange County and do yoga, shocking, right? So yeah, I really do try to practice what I preach with the people that I work with, and really, really try to take care of myself and my internal self. I think that's so important. It's really true that you can't pour from an empty cup. And so I will often find myself, giving advice or talking to somebody, and I'll remind myself, okay, Danika, you need to do that later too. And so it's always a helpful reminder. I use a lot of an approach called CBT, which refers to the connection between our thoughts and our feelings and how we respond. I'm a huge fan of looking at the interconnectedness of things. Like, we all have different types of thoughts and beliefs based on where we come from, right? We all have them, we all do them. We all have different thoughts that we experience and how they inform how we respond to things. I really like to look at the origins of things and where things come from and where they started. That's really where we can make the biggest change. Right? I have a lot of people coming to me with questions about something in life that's just not quite going exactly the way they want it to, and everyone's goals are different. Everyone's goals are going to look different, right? And my biggest goal is just to help somebody get to where they want to be, right? And that's going to look different for everybody, and a lot of times that's looking at how things are connected, right? Because we all have different experiences, we all have different beliefs based on where we come from. And it's one of my favorite things about what I do too, is it's so fun. It's so fun to get to know everybody. And I know a lot of people don't come to therapy and think it'll be fun, but it might even be fun. Sometimes it's fun. A lot of times it's fun. So I use a lot of different evidence-based practices, which means that they're based on evidence and research and have been shown to work in a lot of different ways, you know. When it is relevant, I also have a big trauma-focused background. I will help people go a little bit deeper, and they have early traumas, early experiences that are challenging, and we can really get into that. So I also use a lot of different mindfulness techniques. I really like to look at mindfulness. Really refers to helping ourselves feel calm and centered and grounded in the moment, so that we can approach things with a lot of clarity. I'll ask a lot of questions like, "How are you feeling? What's that like?" Then we'll kind of laugh about it. But yeah, that's what I do. I know this can be a really daunting process, right? I know that, especially if you've never had therapy in the past or never met with someone before, it can be a little bit nerve-wracking, potentially intimidating, but something that I can't stress enough, right, is that taking the first step and booking that first appointment is a huge deal, and I know it can feel a little intimidating and it might feel a little bit nerve-wracking, but it's honestly such a great first step, and it's something to be so incredibly proud of. And I promise it's not as, I promise it's gonna be great. Therapy with me is always very collaborative. I always welcome a lot of collaboration. I think it's very important to talk about what's working for you, what's not working for you. It really, truly will be a process between the two of us. If something comes up or there's a barrier, or also when it's going really well, we'll talk about it, and you will really be a huge part of this, and a huge driver in this. And I think that's really important for people to know that, it's something that we're definitely going to do together. Again, I'm Danika Kasky, and I'm a provider at Rancho Family Medical Group's Behavioral Health Program.